In this video, we will be going over the discussion page, what you can do with the discussions you've created in terms of visibility, as well as some of the settings you have available to you to control what the students can and can't do in your course. So we are currently looking at the discussions page, and you can see there are three different sections. One section is called pin discussions. Then there is a area just called discussions, and then closed for comments. Of course, every discussions that has passed its until date, if it has one set up, will go here as closed for comments to signify to yourself and to the students that indeed the course is, the discussion is closed. They cannot reply to it at all. By default, all discussions you create go first in the discussions area, and you can choose to pin these discussions so that they are at the forefront. Imagine, if you will, that you have maybe a discussion every week that can add up over a dozen discussions. Maybe you want to keep pinning the discussion of the week to the top so they can see it, or perhaps you have a discussion that is running throughout your course that you want to be for first and foremost when the students come to see the discussions page. So you might want to pin that particular discussion. So in this case, I'm going to pick technology and human connection as a discussion, and I want to pin this. How do I do this? So here, where I see the title of the discussion, on the right hand side I have three vertical dots. That is the menu. When I click that, I can see the pin option is right here. Once I click that, it moves that particular discussion right up top to the pin discussions area. So now that one is always the first thing on this particular page, no matter how many discussions I have. Of course, if I change my mind, again, I go to the three vertical dots to the right of technology and human connection. And now I can unpin as well if I want to do that. So I have now unpinned it, and I can always pin it back. So you can use this feature to rotate the discussion of the week in the pin section, or a discussion you want to have running throughout. So that is how you can control how these discussions appear to the students in this particular section. Of course, the students and yourself always have the ability to search through the discussions if you want, as well as filter out to only see unread discussions, so you can focus on the ones you have not looked at. The other important thing about this discussions page is that we have certain settings that are associated which control what the students can do with discussions. So where are these settings? They are to the right of the plus discussion button. When we click this gear icon, these settings will show up. These are the default settings. I have not changed them. So these are my settings, which are something the students have access to as well, that they can actually mark the posts as read themselves, so they can mark it to themselves that I've already looked at this. I don't have to look at it again. That is an option they have. Then these over here, student settings, are something only you can see, and this controls what the students can do. And they have great implications. By default, these are all turned on. So let's go through each one. The first one is create discussion topics. This means that the students are able to create their own discussion topics. This can be a really great tool if you want the students to connect through discussions, to create their own discussions for their group, to be able to chat with each other and post useful information. It can be very useful. On the other hand, it can also be disruptive if you have a lot of discussions that students are seeing and they have a hard time distinguishing between or quickly finding the discussions that you created, that they have to pay very close attention to, versus the discussions created by the students. Again, if you have a course with 100+ students, it can become a little bit chaotic. So keep that in mind if you use that. Again, you can always make use of the pin discussions a tool to highlight your discussions versus all the discussions the students themselves are creating. So that is a little bit of a way you can control a bit that chaos. The next option is the ability to edit and delete their own posts. Of course, this can be very useful if the student made a little mistake or they hit post reply a little bit too early and they were not actually done replying to the discussion. This can be very useful. However, on the other side, having this enabled while you also are forcing the students to not see any replies before they post their own reply. If they are able to edit or delete their own post, they can post some very low effort posts quickly, see what other students are doing, and then proceed to edit their post. So that's something to keep in mind. That can be a downside of allowing them to edit and delete their own posts. So there are pros and cons to this option. It's up to you to choose what works best for your course. The last option is attach files to discussions. This can be very important if you are asking for feedback, where you're asking them to also attach a file, or there's further information that you're asking them to provide that is best provided as a file. Of course, it's important to allow them to attach files. But you can also turn this off if you just want them only to be typing and providing information in that rich content editor and no files available. So that is also an option. The more impactful ones are the first two options, the ability for the students to create discussion topics and their ability to edit or delete their own posts. Once you have changed these settings to your liking, you just click Save Settings and you are set.